Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Scope. And now, here are your hosts, Jared, Adam, and Shane.
Hey, Scope fans. Episode 184 of the world's longest running podcast slash VCast, Jared. Is it?
Are you reading that?
Yes, I'm
the
reading
world's
that.
longest running? No.
I mean, we can say that.
We can.
How about we say
who's going to
best?
prove us wrong?
How about we say world's best?
World's best, longest.
World's finest.
World's finest.
Yes.
It's like Superman and Batman coming together.
And I'm Plastic Man?
You're sort of like Vicky Vale.
Okay. That's fair.
Except prettier. Guys,
no.
He doesn't want to be that. Guys, we've got a great show for you today after our marathon 183 in which Adam and I opened our arms and told you the story of our medical experience getting our eyes shot up. This time around, we're going to go right back into the world of pop culture. We're going to talk about our scope discoveries, the things that the three of us are into right now. It might not be the most current pop culture trend, but it's stuff that is on our radar, Jared. And with Adam and me, we've got better radar because our eyesight is so good right now. Thank you. You're very amused by that.
The laser.
I would kind of like them to have that sound effect when they're doing your lasers. Like, Dr. Whiting, could you make it sound like like it's a really bad Star Wars knockoff?
Would that be worse, though? Like the sound of lasers firing into your
They'd
eyes?
still be like, Shane, stop scrunching your face up so much.
Yeah.
All right. Enough of that nonsense, guys. Let's take a quick break. Let's just get right to it, because I know we got a lot to talk about.
We're 2 minutes in. Why not? We need a break.
We've got we got to compose ourselves, get our thoughts in line, and bring you Scope Discoveries right after this.
This is The Fump.
There's an app for that. Download them for $1 in nothing flat. Whatever you need, you know it's guaranteed. There's an app for that. There's an app for that.
Joker Black Mask and the Penguin, Batman Arkham Origins. Oh hey look, prequel time again. It's not exactly Batman Begins. Joker Black Mask and the Penguin, Batman Arkham Origins.
What to see do you suppose?
How they've taken off their clothes.
I want to see some of those.
Let's watch ladies decompose.
There's swinging music playing, there's dripping and decaying. If you know what I'm saying, it's Satan's burlesque.
That's the Funny Music Project at thefump.com. THEFUMP.com.
Salty foods, almost paradise.
Down, officer down.
What happened?
Officer down, officer down.
My name is Officer Down of the Special Police. You're all under molest.
40.
Jared, Adam, and Shane scour the ends of the pop culture universe to bring you the Scope Discoveries. Find out what you're missing.
Yeah, we are back. Scope Discoveries in the house. Adam playing Candy Crush on his iPhone, Jared.
Doing research.
Is it really Candy Crush?
Of course it is. So this is the time, we do this every once in a while, where we tell you, the listener, you, the viewers, what your Scope hosts are into at any given moment, and that moment is now. Part one, what Jared's into. Please proceed.
You're going to me first.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You didn't get to talk almost the entire last episode.
You mean last week? It was a week.
It was a week
He'll
ago.
get
I know.
over it.
He never gets over that stuff. Jared goes home and he actually times everything out. He has a little scorecard. How much do I get to talk? How much do the other guys get to talk?
I banked away a lot of talking minutes during our last cycle because Adam wasn't here. So
That's true. But Jared, I want to hear what you have to talk about.
all right.
Right
so for me, I actually had a hard time with this because recently I've been doing a lot of video production for this show. I don't know if you've heard of the Scope and the Convergent vlogs.
I'm familiar with
We
it.
just recently did an entire week of videos, and that was a lot of work. And
Jared's saying he's really into iMovie right now.
Oh, he better not.
I'm an Adobe Premiere guy. Hello. So I've been doing that, and I've been watching a lot of bad summer TV that I haven't really been into. So I was like, what am I into right
What
now?
does Jared do?
So I thought about it, and I actually came across didn't come across. I've been enjoying this podcast for a while now, and they just recently put out a new episode, and that sort of triggered like, yes, you should talk about this.
Got it.
So, I know Adam is familiar with CGP Grey on YouTube, right? The guy who does informative educational videos. Edutainment, sure. So if you're not familiar with him, he has a YouTube channel, does educational videos. They're basically narration over simple animation. And he said some real popular videos like the UK explained like the islands versus the actual like civil.
It's great.
Yeah, things. The UK empire, like how all their different territories fit into things. Did a really great net neutrality video lately. And then one of his most recent ones is the American Empire. Talks about the U.S. and all of its territories and like how they work. Like where does the Constitution apply? What kind of rights do they have? And so on and so forth. And then there's another YouTuber named Brady Heron. He does also educational videos, and you might be familiar with Numberphile or Computerphile. Those are probably his two famous ones. Talking about numbers, mathematics, and stuff like that, and then computer sciencey stuff. And his videos tend to take the form of kind of interviews and demonstrations of concepts, whether it's mathematics or science or whatever. And his most popular video lately is the most scientific way to cut a cake. Maybe you've seen this video.
I have not.
Basically, you have a round cake, and you basically cut a slice out of the middle to eat, and then you slide it together, and it keeps it fresher. It doesn't expose those fleshy bits of the cake. You should look it up. It's been very, very popular. Millions of views.
A better way is just to eat the whole cake at once.
Do the Adam style.
Yeah.
You could do that. So
binge and purge.
This is my roundabout way of getting to the thing I'm actually into, and that is the two of them now do a podcast together called Hello Internet. And
two powerful forces merging together.
I'm subscribing to this right now.
You go to hellointernet.fm. That's their website.
You don't tell me.
You can just search for it in iTunes. But basically, it's the two of them talking. It's as they like to call it, it's the two people talking format of podcasts. And it kind of started out, they did like a 10-episode trial to see how it would go. And they recorded everything in advance. So, well, maybe they recorded half of them in advance. But they started just kind of talking out, giving you an insider's view of what it's like to run kind of a popular YouTube channel. You know, things like how do they make their videos? How do they deal with comments? You know, what it's like to basically, you know, to have a channel. But now it's sort of progressed into them talking about their lives, their workflow habits, you know, their philosophies on various types of behavior and stuff like that. And I find it really, really enjoyable because these two are very different in personality, but I find traits in both of them that I can relate to. So like CGP Cray is very methodical and kind of robotic, and he's very opinionated on certain things, like nostalgia or the education system. I think he's a former high school teacher. So having been in the system, he has very strong opinions on how poorly it's run. Brady is a little more casual, a little more empathetic, and kind of see both sides of an issue. So it's kind of fun to they don't really clash, but they have really good discussions on topics. The other neat thing is they're both expats living in the UK. CGB Cray is from the US, Brady Heron's from Australia. So you get some good accents as well. In their latest episode, there was a segment where they're talking about kind of being an adult and still not really relating to your childhood self. And it was around the topic of Facebook and having Facebook friends who are like people you knew in high school and stuff like that. So I pulled the clip and we're going to listen to that right now. Where is it? There it is. Here we go.
I mean, I'm still friends with some people from school, you know, who are very dear to me. And, you know, we're still good friends. But there's a whole bunch, obviously, that I've also just completely lost touch with.
Yeah.
And not that long ago, I kind of reinitiated contact with some school people, partly because there was a reunion going on and partly just curiosity.
Oh, reunions.
And within a few weeks, it was like, you know, I wish them all the best in the world, and I'm sure they're great people with amazing lives and much happier than me, perhaps. But they were just like complete strangers to me. It was like, did I even know these people?
Yes.
The things they're saying and doing and the life they're leading, it was like, oh my goodness, it's just like I'm just becoming friends with complete and utter strangers who just happen to know my name. And I sort of, in the end, kind of drifted away from that and realised that wasn't probably how I should be using Facebook and don't do it anymore. But it was, for a while, it was a strange experience. It was like, you know, I could never go to a school reunion, I think, for that reason.
Oh man, yeah. I've been invited to school reunions, and I feel the same way. I wish everybody I went to school with great lives. I hope they're all doing well. I can't imagine ever going to a reunion for the similar reason that it's like a stranger party is basically what it is. From my perspective, we have all changed so much that we are fundamentally different. And now this is just an arbitrary gathering of people whose past people used to knew each other. But like, it's very, very strange. I have not gone to my high school reunions, I don't ever intend to.
I completely disagree with him. I just want to punch that guy in the face.
Which one?
Both of them.
Okay.
But hey. I
actually related to this quite a bit because I sort of feel the same way about Facebook. It's like I have right around my 20th high school reunion, which was a couple of years ago, sort of became Facebook friends with a lot of people. And it's like, great, I'm happy for you. You seem like you're having a good life, but I have no connection to any of them. Sorry. That's the way I feel. And I've sort of I'm of the same mind as Gray when it comes to reunions. I've gone to them. I don't intend to go to any more. There's no need. It's a stranger party, as they say. So,
I don't think people fundamentally change as much as what he said. I think that there's always aspects of who you are in your past versions and in your present and in your future versions. And
I'm sure there's some through lines, but this particular discussion was inspired by an article on CGP Gray's blog, where he talks about he says, I have died many times, and he talks about how there's been past versions of him, and he's sort of let them go and kind of rebirth. Like he left high school, went to college where nobody else went, and it was his chance to kind of redefine himself. And he's had a couple of those periods over time, and he sort of believes that you shouldn't dwell too much on your past self. And he sort of laments the fact that students these days are constantly connected to their past selves via Facebook, and they're always going to have that peer group, and he thinks that might be a bit of a detriment. Like you never really get a chance to sort of outgrow that and move on from that. Any sort of mess ups in the past, people will always remember them now. And that's bad. But that's
interesting.
Anyway,
because we never had that, right?
No.
I mean, we had that separation, and then Facebook is a modern invention for us. So that reconnection is comes after everything else. Right. So yeah. Okay. So interesting. Anyway,
overall, the podcast is again, it's two guys talking, but I happen to enjoy the two people. They still do talk about the trials and tribulations of running popular YouTube channels. The often talked about thing is how few videos Gray has released in the time that Brady has released, because he tends to release them a lot more frequently. I think he has about 8 different channels and is putting out content all the time, whereas Gray is much more deliberate, and he scripts it and has to animate, and it takes a long time. But and there's the recurring segments where they talk about they're going to have a doozy to talk about on the next episode, because there's a Brady's plane crash corner. He's a bit of a plane crash aficionado. And yes, the MH17 crash had not yet happened at the time that this episode was out. So though I'm sure he'll be talking about that, or at least mention it in the next one. So I really enjoy it. The episodes have gotten really, really long, upwards of 2 hours, and I don't mind at all. There you go. HelloInternet.fm. Check it out.
I will write that down. HelloInternet.AM or FM, Jared?
FM. It's the Federated Micronesia domain.
Boy, he knows all that stuff. Very nice.
Yes. By the way, the Scope and the ScopeShow.fm, both taken.
We can't get it.
Cannot.
Somebody new out there.
I guess we'll just have to be comfortable with the .com.
People are C-blocking us, Adam. Adam, I'm going to go next because you often end the show with a powerhouse bang zoom level of energy that there's no way I could ever match up to.
That's fine, Shane.
Thank you. So I go with Jared. I go through different phases where I will do a lot of reading of actual books rather than magazines and periodicals and comic books. And
what format do you read books in typically?
I will read them in all formats, but a lot of times I end up reading them in a handheld paper format because I can easily check them out from libraries for free.
What is this paper?
I know, it's crazy. And we've talked about this before, I love the tactile feeling of flipping through pages. And
you must not have a Paperwhite.
I don't.
Okay.
Sorry. So
I'm done with you.
Recently, a couple of books that I had on hold that were on long waiting lists at my local library both came up at the same time. So I checked them out both at the same time. And oddly enough, they are sort of connected in a weird sort of way. And that in another way, it almost ties into what Jared was talking about because they deal with the past, or at least aspects of my life in the past. The first book that I'll be talking about it's called A Few Seconds of Radiant Film Strip, a memoir of 7th grade. It's written by a guy named Kevin Brockmeyer. I read about this book, I think, in Entertainment Weekly or something. And Kevin is the guy that wrote this is a fairly, well-known writer. I don't know any of the stuff he's written, but he's been out there. He's done stuff. Okay. And he decided to write a book on his life, and he essentially took what a lot of people either consider to be the most mundane year, one of the most mundane years of their lives, or one of the worst years of their lives, being right in the middle of middle school or 7th, 8th grade. And it is his life story, 1 year from the end of summer until the end of the school year. And it's an autobiography. He writes it in the third person. His goal was to use language and use just treat it like it was really his voice. So he doesn't write in flowery language. He doesn't use any words or any phrases or any sort of literary techniques that a 7th grader wouldn't know. And this, like I said, the story is about Kevin. This is how the book is described. I don't even have that. It's not even described. Yeah, I sort of described it, but it sort of tells the story of Kevin and how he's a bit of an outsider. He's kind of like us, and how he. Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome.
At age 12, Kevin is ready to become a different person. Not the boy he's always been, but the one who cries too easily and laughs too easily, who lives in another land of sparkling daydreams and imaginary catastrophes, but someone else altogether. So it's a story of this smart, quiet kid and how he deals with his friends and just his life throughout the school year. And the one thing that I absolutely loved about this book was the detail in which Kevin Brockmeyer remembered his life. He would describe comic books, or he would describe a pizza place that he went to that sort of triggered some of the same things in my life, or some of the same things that you guys would remember, but maybe you haven't. I mean, he goes and he talks about how
they didn't have pizza in my neighborhood.
Yeah, but it'd be specific things. Like, here's an example, like Banaka mouth spray.
Sure.
You remember that stuff? How that was popular. Or he talked about cinnamon dipped toothpicks, where in my school that was a big thing, where people would have like a cinnamon oil and they would chew on the toothpicks. And there was this one scene where he described his pantry at his house. And so I've got the passage here because I want to read it, because when he read it, it could have been like he was standing at my house looking for something to eat after school. So this is what he writes. He writes, Jell-O pudding pops that preserve the wave-like peaked shape of your lips. Little Debbie fudge brownies that break in half along a groove in the frosting. Summer sausages like number 2 pencils cling wrapped together on a styrofoam platter. Strawberry fruit wrinkles that scent your fingers if you don't pour them directly into your mouth. Squares of American cheese sealed so tightly that wrappers show pale lagoons of trapped air. Chocolate Pop-Tarts sprinkled with shards of something that tastes like sugar but look like rock salt. Little Debbie nut bars, 2 per wrapper, their sides pasted so lightly together that they separate with the sound bath bubbles make when you whisk them with your finger. And he just sort of goes on and talks about all these things that, like, that's what I did. I remember snapping the brownies. I remember unwrapping that stuff. I remember eating bugles where I would put them on my fingers like they were claws, and I would suck them off one at a time.
Wow.
So he goes into detail. The entire.
How old is this guy?
This guy is in his early 40s. So it takes place in 1987 or so.
So not too far removed from our era.
So right, we would remember all these things. It might be a little dicey for Adam.
I remember all those. I did that with bugles too.
Of course. And the book is interesting in two other ways. There's one chapter that's about 20 pages of the moment when Kevin's friends turn on him, and you get a little hint of that at the beginning. And Kevin is a boy whose parents are divorced. He goes and visits his dad in the summer, and then he comes back and lives with his mom in Arkansas during the school year. And he commented how when he comes back, everything is different. You know, his friends have a whole new language. They have created bonds and they've done things together that he missed. So he's always trying to catch up, and he's always scared that something that he says, I think he mentions like people used to comment on one movie, but now they're talking about Fletch. They're not referencing Ghostbusters. Like the movies that he left with are now completely different. And his friends are, excuse me, kind of bullies. So they kind of tease him a little bit, and they talk just, like kids of that age will do. But there's just this one moment where they turn on him, and it is one chapter of them following him through the day and just belittling him and tormenting him and talking about how terrible he looks and how big his dick is and stuff like that. And it's just constant over and over again. And from a 7th grade standpoint, it may not be that big of a deal. But I'm reading this and I'm thinking, this is what happened to me. And it's probably happened to everyone or a lot of us, where just that moment where your friends decide that you're weak and you are going to be excluded, and then they will beat you down. And that's just one chapter, horrifying paragraph after horrifying paragraph. And then the rest of the book is him trying to figure out where he fits. And, the school gets involved, and a little bit later on in the school year, he thinks about, maybe I should call my friends and see if we want to have a sleepover, and how awkward that might be because you were friends for so long and then it goes away. So it was as painful a chapter as you could read, but it was done so realistically that I have to give him credit. Halfway through the book, however, things change, and it actually has like a science fiction twist where Kevin, and in the middle of the school day, he runs into, like, everything sort of slows down and stops, and he runs into a man, an older man, about 42, which may or may not be Kevin, that sits down and talks to him about how his life is going to be in the future. And he essentially gives him a choice. You can stop everything and you can end it. And I mean, I'm not saying suicide, it's just like a science fiction trope. Or you can have this knowledge and you can forget about it, but at this moment in time, you'll know that your life will change, and it's almost like it gets better kind of thing.
Sure.
Or it gets different. Like this is not the totality of what your life is going to be. And it's almost like a wish fulfillment type of thing where, you think, if I could go back and tell my 7th grade self, what my life has in store for me, how would that play out? And he actually does it in the book. And then it just goes away, and then he goes on with the rest of his life, never remembering that it happened. But it's just one of those weird things that kind of breaks up the middle of the book. It's really, really interesting. And it's one of those things where critics have sometimes are confused by it, sometimes really like it, but I thought it was really, really interesting. So that was book number 1. Soon after that, I read another book, which takes place, it's all about video games. It's called Console Wars. It's by a guy named Blake Harris. This book is notable because the rights for it have been picked up by Seth Rogen and his writing partner. I can't remember his name.
Evan Goldberg.
They're going to turn this into not only a documentary, but an actual movie. And it starts right around 1990, tells the famous stories of the battle between up-and-coming Sega, the video game company Sega, and how they decide to take on Nintendo. And at that point, Nintendo had the NES system, very, very, very popular system in America, the only system. They came out of the end of video games with the Atari 2600 and essentially revitalized the video game industry. In doing so, they had an ironclad contracts that they would deal with video game makers where, they limited the amount of games you could make. They made video game makers buy cartridges, all the parts from them. They were very, very strict.
Sure.
And Sega comes in and they hire a guy named Tom Kalinske, which you guys may recognize, but he is the president of Sega of America. And it was his job to take the somewhat new Sega Genesis and turn it into a player. And he had to, at this time, Sonic was not even in existence at the time. He had issues with Sega of Japan because, Sega was the Mega Drive, not super popular in Japan. So he had to go through all of the issues that these Japanese company put on him, which is you do it our way. You're stupid Americans. You don't know video games.
Right.
And then try to battle this giant behemoth that was Nintendo and Nintendo of America. And it's about a 6-year story about how Tom took Sega Genesis from 10% of the market, less than 10%, to over 50% of the market. You learn things like how at one point Sony had partnerships with both Nintendo and Sega, And if either one of those companies would have actually released the PlayStation or a Sega branded PlayStation or a Nintendo branded PlayStation, how different the video game world would be today. It's really fascinating. It's not just about Sega. This book was done with like over 200 interviews with all of the industry players. So you get Nintendo's side, you get Sony's side, and you can see how the repeating pattern of hubris just will create video game companies and it will destroy them. It's a pattern that started with Nintendo and how they treated the Super Nintendo, and it happened all the way up to Microsoft and the Xbox One, which is happening today.
And the 3DO.
3DO is mentioned in this book. It's a really, really good book. I was telling Adam earlier in the week that it's written almost like a screenplay. So there are stories told that are treated like he's there. You know, like, hey, we're having a conversation about a marketing meeting, and these are the exact words that happened. Like very conversational, which obviously no one is going to remember those conversations, and it's not going to play out that way. But at the end of the day, the story is told, and if you have any interest in video games, and I know, Jared, you do, you were in
especially in that era.
In this era where we worked at it.
Yep.
So a lot of things they talk about, we helped implement because we worked at Toys R Us with video games. I think it'd be of great interest to you, and I think you should check this out.
Will this be the social network of video games?
It will be. I'm assuming that's how they're going to treat this. And it's a really fascinating story. I don't know if you can do a Facebook, something that resonates as much as Facebook, because everybody uses Facebook. Not everybody plays video games, but it's still pretty interesting. So there we go. Those are my two books.
Excellent.
Adam, what do you got?
I also, like Jared, picked a podcast.
Mm-hmm. Did like Comedy Bang Bang or something last time, didn't you?
I think I probably did. And
he's picking the scope, by the way.
I picked, also similar to Jared, a podcast that has taught me a lot of things.
You didn't send me a clip, did you?
I did not send you a clip.
Okay.
I figured there was no need, because I can summarize way better than any clip could.
All right.
So I picked the Cracked podcast.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard good things about this.
Yeah. So Cracked used to be a magazine, like Mad Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point in the last, 5 or 6 years, they reinvented themselves. They were probably bought by some media conglomerate.
Yep.
They reinvented themselves into kind of like a history, pop culture website. So they'll talk about weird things that happened in history and how it ties in with pop culture, or, why this certain movie, like, how 9/11 impacted movies afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll talk about how ultra serious comic book movies are now, and how we'll probably laugh at that in 30 years.
Sure.
And I really like it. And I just wanted to talk about a few of the things that I've learned on the podcast.
Excellent.
So the first one, there was one of the most recent episodes was about, when an actor or an actress is in a movie, they're playing a character. And it's not the same character all over, every time, but it's strange that a lot of actors do very similar things in each movie, even though they're playing different characters. And some of them were things like, if you look at Denzel Washington on movie posters, he's always looking straight ahead. On all of his modern movie posters, he's always looking straight ahead. But Will Smith is always looking down and to the left. And they went through all these examples, and you can look online. Like, they're always doing these same things. It's very strange.
Did they ever find an answer for that?
No, they don't. They're not necessarily looking for answers. They're just,
maybe that's dictated by the star, perhaps.
It's probably the star or their team. Denzel, his brand is this, and we feel it's best represented by looking straight ahead. So that's what they want to do. But one of the funniest ones I found was they're talking about. Tom Cruise always runs in his movies. Not always, but frequently he's running.
He likes to run.
He's an athletic fellow.
But
he's glib.
People don't run in movies typically, and it's because people look horrendous running. It's just not a good look. Brad Pitt eats in his movies. Eating is something that's almost never done in movies because you look terrible doing it.
This is Brad Pitt, though.
But Brad Pitt, he somehow early on in his career figured out he's good at it. So then the question is, they're in these different movies.
Decision someone's going to make.
Exactly.
With different directors, different characters, but these people are doing similar things in each of them. It's like, who's pushing it? Is someone have in mind, we're going to cast Brad Pitt. Let's have a scene where he's eating. So the funniest one I found that they brought up was Tom Hanks. He's played a wealth of different characters.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Almost never a dad, which is kind of weird considering all the characters
That's
he's
true.
played. Very, very rarely a dad.
He saves that for his real life. Adam.
Right. Tom Hanks also very rarely a dad. Tom Cruise also very rarely a dad. But what Tom Hanks does more in any movie than not be a dad, he pees in a lot of his movies. So here's the list that they came up with.
Okay.
Forrest Gump. He needs to go pee when he meets JFK.
Gotta pee, yeah.
I think he said he had to pee.
Too much Dr. Pepper.
A League of Their Own. When he's introduced to the team, he's peeing, the longest pee known to man.
Huh.
Captain Phillips. It's what he uses as his excuse to escape the pirates.
Oh.
The Burbs.
Spoiler alert.
It's what he uses to escape the neighbors. So basically, Captain Phillips and the Burbs, the same movie.
Exactly the same.
Road to Perdition. He goes to pee and he winds up accidentally saving his life by doing that. The Money Pit. He gets into that car crash, crashes into a fountain, and the fountain is peeing on him. And then later he pees in the fountain. Apollo 13. He pees and then the pee is ejected into space. Saving Private Ryan.
Jeez.
He doesn't pee in this movie. But there's a scene where him and Tom Sizemore talk about a former soldier that used to love to pee on other people's jackets. So similar.
What an asshole soldier.
And
That should be its own movie.
In Castaway, he not only pees, he poops too. And in The Green Mile, his character, like his plot line is he can't pee the whole movie. And Michael Clark Duncan at the end of it, grabs his dick because Michael Clark Duncan's character can pull the evil, whatever, the bad out of you, and he can pee again. That's a lot of peeing.
That is. That's amazing.
Well done,
I
Cracked.
applaud.
Yeah. So I really like that.
That's big data in action right there.
That is big data.
Couple more. They had a really interesting episode on like crazy conspiracy theories that maybe actually did happen, and I'd never heard of this one, and I like conspiracy theories, but in 1933 there was there may have been a plot to overthrow FDR,
Really?
orchestrated by dozens of wealthy businessmen. It's known as the business plot. The alleged coup would have placed retired Marine Corps General Smedley Butler, which is a great
Smedley.
name. In the
Smedley, eh?
Exactly.
That's a cartoon character.
In the presidency, and was only prevented by the fact that it was Smedley who told FDR of the coup attempt. So they had a bunch of people put on trial and stuff like that.
Wow.
Nothing was ever proven, but the Senate committee that looked into it said that there was probable cause that things actually were taking place here.
Progressing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I also learned that rainbow parties never existed.
What?
I know.
Until after this show.
And no one has ever been poisoned from Halloween candy except for 2 children who were poisoned by their own father eating Halloween candy.
I did not know that.
The rainbow party one, very upsetting. If you don't know, rainbow parties were a thing in the 90s that people were saying were happening, where teenage girls would all put on different colors of lipstick and give blowjobs to boys, but each girl would,
really, they can only just, make a mark and let it go. I mean, that's
right.
the worst blowjob ever.
Exactly.
Let's
that's
be
not
honest.
a blowjob.
Yeah.
This never happened. It turns
Just be
out
a big old Clairol mess at the end
right,
of the day.
it'd be a brown, smudge.
Yeah.
What happened was this woman wrote a book where she claimed to have heard about it happening at one of her daughter's schoolmates' house, and then that woman went on Oprah to talk about her book. And that's it. There was no actual this ever happening.
It was like the knockout game.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. White people are always scared. A couple other things that they've had really good episodes on that I liked. How the Academy Awards got the 90s so wrong. So they go through some of the winners that were picked and how they have not stood up and what actually got passed over. Why America loves to freak out about made up crime waves. That was kind of related to that Rainbow Party one, and the Halloween poisoning too. And one I really liked that was easily overlooked is dumb movies they'll study in future history classes. And they talk about how Teen Wolf was actually about America's race problem.
Oh, yeah.
Last Action Hero being ahead of its time and maybe the inspiration for the movie Inception. And why The Matrix should have won Best Picture.
Well, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah. I'm going to I heard about this, I don't know, on another podcast a month or so ago, and I was going to check it out then, and I didn't, so now it's definitely on my list.
If Adam says check it out, you check it out, Jared.
Exactly.
Check it out, check it out, check it out.
All right, so there we go.
Did you have another thing?
Oh, my other thing was board games, which we can talk about
You'll save it
forever and ever.
You'll save it for another show.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. 2 books, 2 podcasts, 3 guys, Scope Discoveries. We'll be back right after this.
We now return to the scope, just for the hell of it.
Under the scope.
Here we go, guys. Under the Scope. Coming soon. This is where coming soon steps up to the next level, doesn't it? Adam?
Oh, it's funny that you would say that.
I know.
Did you do that on purpose?
I did do that.
All right. This week we have some musical accoutrement for the week. We've got a folk metal band, Aelstrom.
No thanks.
Sunset on the Golden Age.
Okay.
I don't know what folk metal is. I just wanted to.
It's a genre of music that I asked to have at my LASIK surgery, but they could not find any.
Album from Angus and Julia Stone. I don't know who that is. Godsmack. And the soundtrack for Step Up: All In.
You love Step Up.
I do.
You put that on record.
Godsmack, huh?
Yeah.
Haven't heard from them in a while.
No.
Well, they're back, Jared, and they're smacking God
I
more
them,
than ever.
I saw them live once.
It's
Never
not,
again.
It's not God space smack.
No.
It's Godsmack.
Yeah.
So
God smack like
I don't think there's
God's
any
drugs?
I don't think there's any implication of smacking God.
Okay.
No, I think it's all about heroin.
Yeah. Or his name is Henry Godsmick. The most likely scenario.
That is definitely
His name is Henry Godsmick, and he said it doesn't sound good.
Yeah,
Let's change that
it.
to Smack, and then you got a band name.
Done deal.
And drop the Henry.
All right, we've got some movies coming out this week.
Do we?
We've got The 100-Foot Journey. This is a movie with Helen Mirren.
Oof. Seems like it should be a short film.
It's the story of a snail.
It's
see, it's all about scale.
A guy and his family are displaced from their native India, so they settle in a small French town and open a restaurant. But this movie is actually, not You've Got Mail. What was the other one about the bookstores? You've Got Mail.
Serendipity.
That was You've Got Mail.
No.
Okay.
This movie is You've Got Mail.
Does Tom Hanks pee in that one?
They settle in a small French town to open a restaurant, but once the Ice Queen proprietress, it's a hard word to say, of the French restaurant across the street,
they probably
catches
could have
wind
just
of
gone
it.
with proprietor because Ice Queen
Yeah.
sort of tells you it's a woman.
She gives them hell. Into the Storm.
My daughter wants to see this
A group
movie.
of high school students document the events and aftermath of a devastating tornado.
Storm Chasers.
Is this
Jared.
like a found footage thing?
It doesn't seem like it, but
Okay.
it may very well be.
It's Twister.
It's Twister amped up with public urination, I hear.
Well, when your toilet's been destroyed, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, you got to pee.
We've got
Anywhere.
Step Up, All In.
It's a
the
second
movie.
reference to Step Up, Jared.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I'm ready to step up.
All stars from previous Step Up installments, except for Channing Tatum, for some reason, weird,
Seems
come
busy.
together in glittering Las Vegas, battling for a victory that could define their dreams and their careers. DVD and Blu-ray, we've got Need for Speed, the movie that answers the question, does Aaron Paul say bitch in every role that he's cast in?
Does he?
I don't have an answer.
He did in the Xbox One commercial he was peddling. Xbox turn on, bitch.
Divergent, which is Hunger Games.
The book. I have it on my iPad for a
Ashley
book to
Judd
read.
and Kate Winslet in minor roles.
And the girl from The Fellowship of My Stars, Jared.
Yeah.
I'm just making up.
The Fault in Our Stars. It's Shailene Woodley and Ansel Elgort. They play brother and sister in that one. Not cancer-stricken lovers.
Wouldn't it be awesome if they merged that together?
Wouldn't it be great?
Also, Oculus
Synergy
is coming out, which is either an obvious attempt by the Oculus Rift people, I guess, or Facebook, to try to get people hyped for virtual reality.
Or it's the story of our LASIK surgery. Oculus.
A horror film from 2013 produced by WWE Studios. That would be...
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And video games. We've got Akiba's Trip, Undead, and Undressed. Nice. For PlayStation consoles, we got
Undressed
Sacred 3 and Ultra Street Fighter 4.
Pixel boobs.
Wow.
It's not till the end. Okay, so like video games will start coming out again at the end of August. We've got Madden.
Madden will hit.
And then
Destiny.
the big things.
And
yeah.
then look out, boys.
Then
and
I may
girls.
need to buy a new console.
Yes, you might.
Or console.
A console.
As you always say.
Or as my boss says, a console.
Console.
But wait.
What's that?
There'll be one more thing.
or miss it. Hit of the week. Hit it or miss it. Miss of the week. Look out!
Yes, indeed. It's that time when your Scope hosts picks something you absolutely have to check out or avoid. And we are making history.
We are?
This week. Because I am selecting a movie that is a both hit and a miss all at the same time.
I feel like you said we couldn't do this.
Well, I'm doing it because this movie...
That's a precedent.
This movie deserves it. I am talking about the Michael Bay produced Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Justify your bothness.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, everybody loves them.
Okay.
Hit. Miss, Michael Bay produced. Megan Fox as April O'Neil. Miss. Giant Mutant
She's
Turtles.
not as bad as you think she is.
How about
this movie? Have you seen it?
No, but just in general.
How about Tony?
I don't think she's. I don't say she's that bad. Tony Shalhoub. Miss.
Will Arnett.
Miss.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Double miss.
Now I have a question for you.
I've seen the scene with Megan Fox and Whoopi Goldberg, Jared. That's a miss scene, baby.
Double bitches.
I'm serious about this.
Yeah.
There's a person in this movie who seems like he should really be saved for Casey Jones. But maybe he, I don't know.
Maybe he is. Will Arnett.
Johnny Knoxville's in this movie.
Maybe he is Casey Jones. That would be cool.
Okay.
That'd be a hit then, Jared. I think Johnny Knoxville as Casey Jones would be a good
So it's a hit or a miss because it straddles the line, or it's a hit for one reason and a miss for another.
Are we seeing this movie as a group?
Probably not.
Okay.
Jared and I said we wouldn't pay to see this movie.
Oh, that's right.
But maybe we would pay to see this movie.
Depends on if K102 comes through for me.
I'm really conflicted on this movie, Jared, because I really want it to be good.
I agree.
Have you guys seen any of the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoons?
Yes, they're good.
No.
They're good overall.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, they're good overall.
Does Michelangelo still like pizza?
They all eat pizza, but it's not like it was in the original
Krang
cartoon.
in it?
Are they all Papa John's
In a
pizzas?
way, Krang is in it, yes. It's not Papa John sponsored.
Okay.
There's no specific brand sponsorship.
Got it.
So, yes, I'm conflicted. It's a hit and it's a miss. If you don't like my the way I do things, tough.
I'm going to call the Scope voicemail line right now and complain about it.
Please do. So let's wrap it up.
Under the scope.
Adam stepped all over my clean out.
He does.
Huh?
That happens.
Jared,
Yeah.
comments, please.
We have a voicemail from the great Luke Ski,
Nice.
friend of the show. He's got some comments on some of our recent conversations we've had on the show.
Terrific.
Here we go.
Hey, Scope, this is Luke Ski. Sorry for the lateness of this comment. I was quite busy with Funk Fest, which went awesomely.
He's too much to do.
But I wanted to say that I really
Too much
enjoyed
to do
your
to take
two-part
it off a
conversation
speakerphone.
with Ron Boogie Monster Gerber. I also wanted to give a shout out to him. It was very cool to hear him mention the toy dolls, in particular their song Nelly the Elephant. So that was really cool. The other thing that I wanted to at least mention, as you know, a person who loves comedy music, is that there was kind of an omission there in your whole discussion of awesome albums released in 1984. There's an album you left out of that conversation.
Don't you tell me you're full
There'll be no
Yes,
YouTube
1984
match
is
on
the
that.
year that Weird Al Yankovic's album In 3D was released, lead single of which was his Michael Jackson parody, Eat It. And I'm not just saying that because I would have worked in any Weird Al Yankovic album into any year you guys would have been discussing. It's just that In 3D was kind of the shot heard around the world for everybody saying, oh, you mean you can make comedy songs like this? Cool. And, you know, a whole generation of people was inspired to go off and make comedy songs and stuff. So it at least I felt warranted a mention during the whole Michael Jackson insanity mania part, like, oh yeah, and Weird Al released In 3D that year. So this is me being obnoxious and calling in to mention that. So thanks a lot, guys. Still continuing to listen to the show. Love the new format. It's all awesome. Great to see Possible Oscar rocking it out at Funk Fest. Talk to you all later. Bye.
Sorry, I had to edit a little bit out for time, Luke.
Yeah.
Sorry. But you still got a good minute 45.
Luke is right. I do specifically remember when Eat It the video was premiered on Friday Night Videos.
Yes.
It was a very big deal at the time. So
we did, but in fairness, our conversation was meant to be summer 1994, and Weird Al was definitely an early 1984 thing. Maybe he was still hanging around on the charts into summer. But
did he have any other hits besides that song
from that album? I have no idea. For me, Weird Al, the Weird album that I connected to was Dare to Be Stupid. That was my album.
Gotcha.
So there.
Terrific.
But yeah, otherwise, thanks for the comment, Luke.
Yeah, thanks, Luke.
If you want to write in and tell us how we screwed up not mentioning Weird Al in some scenario, you can email us at comments@thescopeshow.com. You can call our voicemail line at 612-21-SCOPE. That's 612-217-2673. You can also keep up with us at Facebook, Twitter, or Tumblr, or on YouTube. All those links are at our website at thescopeshow.com. And if you like what we do and you want to support us, you want to give us change in your pocket, go to patreon.com/thescopeshow and be a patron. Sign up. You can donate as little as $1 an episode. Set a monthly cap or cancel anytime.
You okay? He's having a stroke again.
I just got a little max headroom there.
He's caught in a feedback loop over there.
Patreon.com/thescopeshow. Shane, back to you.
Wow, Jared. Well, it has been one hell of a show. We've educated the masses. We've talked about what we're into, and we hope you enjoyed it. So for Jared, Adam, I am Shane. Thanks for listening. And remember, if you can't be good, be bad, baby. See you next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves once again at the end. I hope you've enjoyed our time together. I know I have. Fear not, Scope faithful. Days shall pass as if they were but a moment. And Jared, Adam, and Shane will return with another thrilling episode. Until then, send your comments to comments@thescopeshow.com or leave a voicemail message by dialing
612-21-SCOPE. That's 612-217-2673.
Thanks for listening, faithful fans. This is Tony Partington saying adios. Tune in next time to another terrific edition of The Scope.